move more, eat less.
Are you actually healthier with a six-pack?
Who is healthier? The guy with the love handles or the guy with the six-pack? You can live a disciplined life and eat bacon and drink soda,
Right.
if you're accountable to how much of that you give yourself. All of us as human beings are absolutely addicted to dopamine. You gotta fix the addiction first. Small changes is the way that you get improvement. So we did an episode a few weeks ago where I came out as like the big fat shamer.
Right.
You know, the guy that went on this transformational journey and lost 40 pounds in 4 months. And I want to introduce this by showing one of the reels that we posted around this topic that showcased the transformation that we went on. But here's a clip from our old episode that we did. I'm going to show you what this looks like here.
Okay.
Let me turn my volume all the way up. I wanted to literally lose 40 pounds of fat and lose almost no muscle with it.
Jeez.
So my trainer is like, hey dude, here's the plan. 10,000 steps a day, 150 grams of protein, and do resistance training 4 days a week. I'm gonna put you into a calorie deficit of around 1,500 calories per day of deficit. Not total calories, but deficit. And dude, the fat just melted off.
Okay.
Literally just melts off.
Wow.
So you see a transformation like that happens.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that really strikes me about it, because everyone thinks that there's some special tricks that are out there. And people will hit me up in my DMs and say, dude, loved your reel. What was those workouts? Like, send me that nutrition plan you have. Like, what were you doing at the gym when you went there? And the funny thing to me is I didn't always recognize what actually got me from being fat to burning all that fat off.
Okay.
And then having the body that I wanted to have. It was all the fundamentals. 90% of what happened there was the fundamentals of move more, eat less. Not even eat better. Just move more and eat less. So that's how I lost the fat.
Yeah.
But I think that the telltale sign of amateurs in any realm is to be hyper-focused on the things that are not the fundamentals. People want to tell me about, oh, I do this special like high-intensity cardio training, and that's how I'm going to go do Orange Theory and lose a bunch of weight that way. And I'm going to go start running for a 10K and go run a marathon. It's like, that's not efficient, dude. You're just wasting your time. You're not going to get the results you want by doing that unless you do a ton more of that than the fundamentals that I did to get my transformation. Like, what do you say to that?
Well, first, the question that I would have for you when you think about your transformation is, what were you optimizing for in the first place? Because when I see you lose that amount of fat, like, are you actually healthier with a six-pack?
That is a common question that fat people ask.
Okay.
Am
I the fat person that's asking this question?
You're the fat person asking this question.
I'm the fat person asking this question.
Is it even healthy to have a six-pack? Like, why would you aspire? Here's what I hear when you say that.
Right.
That's really hard. I don't want to sacrifice the way that you sacrificed to get there. So I'm going to come and bring science into this and tell you that scientifically, that's not healthy for you to look that way. Okay.
Incorrect.
Yes, that's the body that I want to have too, but I'm not willing to make the sacrifice to actually get there.
What's the reason to be there?
Excellence. Excellence in every single aspect of my life.
Okay.
Here's what I realized. I had an 8-figure net worth.
Yeah.
And I had a terrible body to go along with that.
Okay.
I didn't respect my body. I respected my business. So I wanted to have the 8-figure body to go along with the 8-figure net worth. And I thought, what's keeping me from doing that is that I have not decided to be excellent in my health and in my fitness and in how I look, which affects how I feel about me first and primarily, not for anybody else. Like, I want to look good to me because that hits my confidence to know financially well off, healthy on this side, and I know I look like a beast at the same time. Even though you're bigger than me, your muscles are larger, I'm a lean, mean fighting machine over here.
I mean, look, people are going for different things, right? There are people who want to look like me. There are people who want to look like you. Do I aspire to have a six-pack? I don't know why I would. But
You're
I'm
lying to yourself to say you don't want to have a six-pack.
No, because look at
if you could have a six-pack versus not having a six-pack, what man would choose to not have a six-pack?
It's the farthest thing from my mind in terms of that's like, I'm not optimizing for a six-pack. I'm not optimizing to even look good.
Okay, but why are you not
What am I focused on?
You said you don't want a six-pack. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
You really don't want a six-pack?
At this stage in my life, I'm 35 years old.
Okay.
Right? If I live to the average lifespan of a normal American, half of my life is already gone.
Okay.
Right? So I'm looking at the half of the life that I have left. In my mind, what I'm optimizing for today is longevity. How can I be healthy for the longest period of time possible to continue to live? And I'm sorry, a six-pack doesn't fit into that equation.
If you could do that and have a six-pack, why would you not want to have the six-pack?
It doesn't further my goal.
Okay.
In any way.
It doesn't further your goal.
Doesn't further my goal in any way.
What I hear you say when you say it doesn't further my goal is that I'm not willing to make the sacrifice to get the six-pack that I could have right alongside the longevity that goes with it.
We have no scientific evidence that having below 10% body fat to be able to actually see a six-pack has any health positive effects. It may have negative effects.
Okay. So let's look into that. You're optimizing for longevity.
Right.
So what do you focus on? Good. What do you focus on to optimize for longevity?
I want to feel good for a long time, right?
Okay, but give me the KPI. For me, what do you need to do to live a long life?
Yeah. To me, it starts with strength. Strength is like the thing that you have to have. But one lesson that I've learned in the last 5 years is it's not just strength, it's strength along with this stability, right? That goes a long way in terms of me just feeling good on a regular basis. I just came off of knee surgery. Well, a couple of times ago, we were doing our podcast. I'm limping around the office because I was
telling people it was because you were fat. That's why. That wasn't about the knee surgery for me. But hey, I work out. He doesn't. This is what life looks like at 35 when you don't take care of yourself.
I have things from early sports injuries from 20 years ago that never really got healed. And it was actually impacting me or stopping me from being able to work out the way that I wanted to.
Yeah.
To be able to do the motions that I need to for that long-term strength that I need. And so it made sense. We could go in there, hack some stuff up, move the kneecap back over where it's supposed to be, get it back in the groove. I take downtime for about 2 months, but now I'm able to go back to doing those movements, really building up the muscles and strength that I need for the longevity that I'm talking about. So like that, to me, that's the important thing. That's what I'm optimizing for. And this is the reason why I point this out. Like, what are you optimizing for? Because I know what your diet looks like.
Yeah.
You've lost 40 pounds, but you didn't stop eating pizza. You didn't stop eating your bomb pops.
Exactly.
And you keep on drinking soda. Like, you can do all the things that you're doing. You've just limited your calories.
Because do not sully me with drinking soda. I drink Zevia, zero-calorie leaf extract Zevia. Okay. I do not drink Coca-Cola, and I have not for 5 years. I don't want anyone thinking I drink Coca-Cola out there.
Let me just give
that will kill you.
I want to give a 30-second take on these sugar sweeteners in general, the sugar replacements, because we just don't know yet why those are bad for you. I promise you it's bad for you. Nothing can taste that good and actually be good for you.
If it comes out that natural leaf extract is bad for you, or gives you cancer, I drink 4 a day.
I'll give you my opinion.
I love a sweet drink. I don't like soda anymore.
Here's what I suspect. Because we know they don't have any calories. Like, your body literally can't process these. That's why they have 0 calories. You just can't do anything with it, right? You don't have the ability to break this down. Maybe if you had 7 stomachs, like, a cow, you'd be able to. But we're going to find out one day, my opinion, that when you put something into your mouth that's sweet, like, it starts a whole process where your body starts preparing itself for sugar. And when your body and the enzymes and all the stuff that's involved prepare themselves for sugar and no sugar comes, we might call this like the reverse of diabetes. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to find out that it's bad. I promise you. We'll come back to this clip when we do, but it's going to happen.
I think this is the very fact that you know that is the point that I want to make here. Because you asked me what I'm pursuing.
Yeah.
I'm just pursuing excellence.
By eating pizza?
Good. I want to look good.
Okay.
Which affects my own self-image.
Right.
It does also affect how other people perceive me.
Yeah.
But I want to be excellent in every single thing that I do. And I also want to live a long life. But you know a lot more about health than I do. If you put our 2 physiques side by side with our shirts off at the pool, which we should do an episode like that someday.
We need to do an episode
like that. If you put our 2 physiques side by side at the pool, and we asked who is healthier? The guy with the love handles or the guy with the 6-pack?
I don't know anything about love handles.
Okay. I might be projecting some love handles.
Get thee behind me, Satan. How dare you?
But it's who is healthier.
Right.
Classically speaking, I don't know how that poll shakes out.
Yeah.
In my frame of mind, the people look at the guy with the 6-pack are going to say the guy with the 6-pack is healthier. Now,
do you realize that that's only like an American phenomena?
It's not. It's
Have you
such
seen
a
the clip of
hard
like
thing to
the
do.
ideal body type by country?
No, I've seen all of that, and I say it's a very subjective thing to say what the ideal body type is when everyone is different. And
That's
looking
my
at
point.
this. But let me just show you this:
Right.
having a six pack is not about just looking good.
Yeah.
It's also about living a disciplined life.
Okay.
That's almost equally as important to me when I think about being excellent. The reason I'm good in business is because I'm disciplined in business.
Okay.
Like I don't get distracted and go every which way. I put my head down for 5 years. I build $1 million businesses. I pick it back up. And people say, wow, like that overnight success. And it's like, no, it was discipline and 15-hour days. And I focused on one thing and got really, really good at that one thing over time. And I built $1 million brands. The same thing happens though when you're disciplined in your fitness. I get to show my daughters every day when we're getting dressed together and she's walking in and I go, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. let's count. Okay. That's a sign of discipline. Now they don't know it yet today because they don't know how hard it is to maintain something like that when you are 35 and at a time of life that is not easy, because I'm not impressed by the personal trainers who are like 19 years old or 21 years old who have nothing going on in life and they're showing off this physique and like, okay, show it to me when you've got 2 kids and you've got a business or you've got a job that you're grinding on and you're tired. You haven't had a good night's sleep in 5 years, and show me that guy with a six pack. Now I'm impressed by the fact that you have disciplined enough to actually put your body through what it needs to have that fat melt off. It's a hard thing to do and it's a hard thing to maintain. People don't know. They are not able to do it. My daughters and my wife are going to see that their dad and their husband lives a disciplined life, not just in business, but also in his physical health, to maintain accountability of the things I put into my mouth and that I eat, and that I'm tracking it, and I'm measuring it, and I'm managing it, and it's discipline across the board. And anyone says they don't want a six pack is just saying, I don't want to be disciplined. That's what they're actually saying.
I love the
it's
words.
Not that they don't want a six pack. Everybody wants a six pack. They don't have what it takes to get one and keep one.
I can't even take you seriously right now. You're talking about discipline. You're talking about excellence. Like, I love the speech. The speech is great. You're still eating the same shit that made you fat. You're eating the same shit. You're eating pizza. You're eating wings, like whatever. Like, you fit that all into your diet. You have this willpower to be able to eat less of it. But how can you sit there and talk about the excellence and just the diligence that goes into it if you're still eating those same shitty foods? Like, you haven't converted over to saying like, hey, I'm going to eat like whole foods. I'm going to eat grass-fed beef. I'm going to eat whole grains. I'm going to eat things that I know are going to nourish my body. Because again, I think we're both trying to optimize for longevity, right? You can't tell me that you're getting the same level of nutritional value from a pizza. I don't care if it comes from Whole Foods or Papa John's. You're not getting the same level of nutritional value from that as you would get eating a whole food, single ingredient diet. And you could eat a lot more food and hit the same calorie levels. I remember when I was doing your 2,000 calorie diet, I was eating 4
Tell
or
them about
5.
your results though. 10 pounds in a
Did
month.
it work? Did it work? Absolutely.
Exactly.
Did it work? But we
It
were still
works.
eating different foods, right? I was able to eat 4 full meals a day and still stay below 2,000 calories.
Yeah.
Right? You had to pack all that into a meal and a half because you're still eating shitty foods. That's not going to help you with your longevity. Are you healthier?
Couple of points.
Are
on
you
this.
healthier with a six pack if you're still eating pizza?
Let me show you this. You saw me eat pizza last night.
Yes. And I had pizza with you.
You
I
had
had
pizza with me
you.
last night.
Yes.
I would challenge you on the fact, number one, that all I eat is pizza and wings and all these things.
Okay.
That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, it's very evident to me that you know a lot more about health and nutrition than I do.
Sure.
And yet our results are strikingly different.
Right.
Because there's a discipline that's missing from one. Having the knowledge does nothing for you if you don't do anything with the knowledge.
Depends on what you're
and
going
my
for.
main point on all of this is that you've got more knowledge than me.
Yeah.
But you're focused on things that are not the fundamentals. The fundamentals of burning fat and looking good and having a six pack, move more, eat less. So even though I'm eating foods that I enjoy and that I can crave and I think about all the time, and I'm thinking about Domino's pizza and McDonald's, although I did cut McDonald's out of my diet, I can still eat those types of foods as long as I'm accountable for the caloric intake of what comes in versus my manual output of what I'm moving my body with, so that I can capitalize on melting fat off of my body so that I can look good and live a disciplined life. You can live a disciplined life and eat Domino's. You can live a disciplined life and eat bacon and drink soda.
Right.
If you're accountable to how much of that you give yourself. One of the things you told me when I started the program was that food is one of the great joys of life. Like,
Sure
why
it
would
is.
you give that up where you can garner so much of your happiness from this food? And I say, okay, can I get enough happiness from eating 2 bites of a piece of pizza where it tastes good and I love it?
Right.
Or do I have to be shoveling it into my mouth nonstop until I gorge myself and I'm sitting on the couch and I'm just laying back here because I can't move and I'm in a food coma?
Yeah.
Like, is that what level I have to go to in order to say that I enjoyed the food? Or can I have the same pleasures in life that you have?
Yeah.
The steak, the lobster, the pizza, all the whole nine, and have a little bit less of it and just say, you know what? I'm going to log that calorie.
Yeah,
I'm going to live a
yeah.
disciplined life. I'm going to enjoy the food I eat, and my daughters are going to see that dad is writing it down and being accountable for what goes into his mouth while
Yeah.
still enjoying his life.
You're on a slippery slope. You're on a slippery slope.
Every fat
Because
person I know says that to me.
if you're still eating the exact same food that you were able to gain the weight on, you're eating the exact same food, what's it going to take to relapse? That stuff is still around. You haven't actually changed anything except for what's up here and what's in here. It's your willpower that got you here. I admire the willpower. 6 months ago, you looked very different. You're still in this shape 6 months later. I'd like to see what it looks like 6 months from now and 5 years from now. And because I said that and because you're my twin brother, now you have to prove that to me and now you're going to continue to stick with it. So I'm helping you along by challenging you
and
here.
I appreciate the
Yes.
motivation to continue.
That's
Although
part
I don't
of what I
need
can
your
do.
motivation because I'm not doing this for you or anybody
but-
else. I did it for me.
But let me
Okay?
give
my
you this.
wife even asked me who I'm doing this for me.
But here's
for
why
me.
it's a slippery
If I was doing
slope,
it for
right?
anybody else, I'd give it up by now. It's too hard.
You're showing your family, you're showing your young daughters, right? Like, hey, like this is like the determination that I have to be able to have this body. Again, I disagree. I don't think that it has anything to do with your longevity because I still don't think that you're getting the nutrients that you need to be able to live a long life on the diet that you're currently on. But what you're showing your daughters today is that, okay, if you just have a bunch of willpower, then you can do this. You can have this body.
Yes.
What I think you could be showing them is, hey, here's a super nutritious and delicious diet that you can eat. And if you eat the right foods, here's the crazy thing that we find out. We see this in the medical research, the literature. If you're eating the right foods, your body knows what to do with the excess. You can maintain your weight if you're eating, like the simplest thing we talk about, the outside of the grocery store, right? Stay away from the ultra processed stuff. You eat a lot of ultra processed food, even the fiber bars and the protein bars and that kind of stuff. It's all ultra processed. There's so many chemicals in there. RFK is going to help you with that a little bit, probably.
Thank you.
But there's so
Let's
much
ban
stuff in
Doritos.
there that
Right.
holds it together, that makes it stay fresh. Like the bread that can sit in your cabinet for 3 weeks and it's still soft and fluffy, there is no way, I don't care how many calories you're counting, there's no way that that stuff is helping you to live a longer life. So what I don't want for your daughters is to
flawed.
actually
It's flawed.
is to think that like, oh, this is what a diet should be. You and I both know how much the food you eat as a child influences how you feel about food later in life.
Sure.
That's why we hate vegetables. Because we had terrible vegetables growing up if we had them. Everything we ate was carbs.
Yeah.
Carb heavy, everything. So if you could teach your kids to love steak and broccoli versus loving pizza, I think that's a net positive. That's a greater net positive for them in terms of how they live their lives.
Yeah.
Versus thinking that these are their staple foods.
You're 100% wrong, and I'll tell you why.
Ridiculous.
You gotta fix the addiction first. See, everyone I talk to that doesn't have the discipline to go through what I went through to get a six-pack wants to tell me the healthier way to get there. They want to say, oh, but the stuff you're eating, like you're not getting your natural vitamins from the nutrients. And if you just did it with salads instead. Let me ask you this. When you're dealing with someone who's addicted to food,
Right.
and I would argue that all of us are addicted to food, or
Yeah.
most Americans that are
Yeah.
overweight have an addiction to food. What is the right order to fix that problem? When you start training a 350-pound guy,
Yeah.
who doesn't exercise and drinks a ton of soda, eats McDonald's, Wendy's, all the fast food.
Right.
You know what the best coaches do with that person? They don't send him to the gym 4 days a week, have him start eating salads nonstop, because they know that big changes for humans doesn't work. Unless you have the resolve of something that's like unnatural, it doesn't work. But small changes over time compound. It's the same thing as the Dave Ramsey approach to debt. Pay off the smallest card first, get some momentum, and then deal with the bigger one and the bigger one and the bigger one.
Yeah.
And you form your way there. But change has to happen in phases. So for the 350-pound man who's super overweight, a good coach tells that guy, hey, we're going to get you off of Coca-Cola and go to Diet Coke. And all the rest of the fat people are like, you can't drink Diet Coke. Like, that's terrible for you. It's so bad. You're going to, the aspartame. And hey, watch that guy lose 30 pounds in a month by making that one change and him realizing like, oh, calories matter. If I focus on this, I can lose weight here. Now what's next? What's next? But if you send that 350-pound guy to the gym and he gets super sore and he comes in super motivated and he goes gung-ho with it and you put him on a 2,000 calorie diet, he is not going to make it because he got to 350 pounds because of his addiction. So when I recognized in myself when I was 220 that I had an addiction to food, I realized, man, all of us as human beings are absolutely addicted to dopamine. Dopamine.
Yeah.
And if nothing interesting is happening in life, food will do.
Yes.
And I was stuffing my face with a desire to fulfill dopamine with food.
Yeah.
So you get into your 30s and you have some kids and life's going, you get business stress and all. Hey, food solves all those problems. Wine solves all those problems. More calories in, I feel really, really good about myself and I can medicate myself on a daily basis. I had an addiction to food and low quality foods, Domino's, nasty McDonald's. That's what I was eating late at night. I wasn't even hungry, but I was eating it because I was addicted. So you have to solve the addiction first. So I'm in phase one. You're seeing me right now, 6 months into the journey. You watched me burn the fat off. And now 2 months of me starting to main gain where I'm just keeping the fat off and adding a little bit of muscle while still restricting my calories down far lower than it ever was before. But what does phase two look like? Phase two is to start to understand how do I gain muscle. And then phase three is to make that final change to say, let me focus a lot more on the nutrition and make sure I'm getting the vitamin A and the vitamin D and doing all of the natural, eating more salads and getting more leafy greens and the produce and the outside of the grocery aisle. But all of that has to happen after you solve the addiction first. Okay. You've got to remove the crack addict from the crack. Get him into rehab and just say, hey, live the same life, no crack. Okay. And then we start to make changes and say, hey, why were you on the crack in the first place? If you start with the therapy, the guy, and still give him crack, it ain't going to fix the problem. It has to be a phased approach.
You're wrong
about this. I'm in phase one. When you see me in phase three and I'm enjoying eating chicken salads every single day and living a disciplined life that way, what will you say then?
You're wrong about this one. You're going to be on my side with this in a short period of time. But let me just give you the example because you brought up Dave Ramsey. You brought up credit card debt, right? When someone has a credit card debt problem, they've racked up $20,000 of credit card debt. Do we tell that person to stop using their credit card or to get control and just use the credit card less?
Dave Ramsey says cut it up.
Stop using the credit card. Right. Stop. Today, you're done. You're talking about thinking that you have an addiction to food, but you haven't asked the question why. And when you ask the question why, I think you go one step deeper and you understand, oh, there are certain foods that cause me to be addicted. I don't care how addicted someone is to food. You know what people never overeat on? Salad, single ingredient foods. If you just eat steak, you can only eat so much. You hit the wall and you stop. But put that onto a pizza, right? Where I've got the cheese and the sauce and the bread and all that kind of stuff. There are certain foods, like if you're being honest with yourself, you know this already. There are certain foods that you can continue to eat when you're full. And that is what the addiction is. It's an addiction to those foods, not food in general. So we have to stop the stuff. If you truly believe that like this was an addiction of mine, you got to stop with those foods. This is what I keep telling you. You have more willpower than the average person. The reason why a bunch of people aren't doing the plan that you did is because it doesn't work for most people. Because if they keep eating those same foods, that doesn't work. Now, if you go to the lifestyle change and you say, I'm done with that food. I'm done with that food. And now I'm going to start to bring in single ingredient whole foods. You might not lose weight at the same rate, but you'll get healthier.
We are right around the new year right now. This is how I know you're wrong.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because New Year's Day comes and goes, and everyone makes these resolutions after the holidays that I gave myself all this leeway, Thanksgiving, Christmas, gain 10 pounds, put it on. I'm going on a diet, and I'm going to start working out. They go cold turkey on all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And they say, this is the year I make the final change, and I'm just going to eat chicken salads from this point forward. We know the results of that. They're out of the gym by February, and they're off the diet by January 15th. Because they try to do too much. They're biting off more than they can chew. Small changes is the way that you get improvement. It's in business, it's the exact same way as it is in the rest of our life. If you want to have someone change, you do small changes incrementally, getting larger and larger, building on top of a foundation of, wow, I have so much confidence. I made this one change. I saw this result. Now I'm willing to take the next step and go make the next change and the next change and the next change. You have to build a body of work to get to the really hard stuff, which is cold turkey. I never eat Domino's or pizza ever again. I get all my nutrients from natural ingredients. I grow it in my garden outside, and I don't take vitamins anymore. I get it from the leafy greens that are around me. I grow it all myself. But you can't just start with that. You have to work your way up to that. Look, I'll give you an analogy here, because we're sitting here in this studio right now, which I'm very proud of how it all came together.
It's amazing.
When I walked in this room for the first time 6 months ago, it was an empty room. There was no vision for it. And the first podcast we shot here was on blank walls behind us with really shitty microphones. We didn't have a nice background and good lighting. And now you come in here today and the lights are hung and you can tell Alexa what you want her to do to go and make all this happen. That's only possible because we made lots of tiny little changes over time. We added nice microphones. And then we added a couple new lights, but they weren't hung up. We just put them here in front of us. And then we added some nice chairs and a background and some LED lights. And it all comes together slowly over time, where if you compare what it was 6 months ago to what it is today, massive change has taken place.
Great.
But if I was trying to undertake building all of this from day one, when I walked in here, I never would have started, because it's too much to take on. But when you do one piece at a time, the next step starts to feel very easy. I'm an engineer by trade.
Yep.
And as an engineer, they taught us how to take a complex problem and break it down into little tiny bite-sized pieces. Think about an equation from calculus when you're in high school.
Yeah.
If you try to solve the whole thing just by looking at it, it's incredibly hard to do. You have to be a savant or a genius to do it. But when you break it down and start solving one piece at a time, you work your way to a solution on the back end. And that's the same way that we as human beings need to change. It's a complex process to change. Let's break it down into little tiny steps. Okay, what's step number one? Do that. Step number two, and you work your way to a solution, which is change, which is health, and which is excellence across the board, both in your business and also in your health. But you cannot change that quickly. I'll give you the final word.
I just want to be clear that when we talk about excellence here, you're telling the gambling addict, just gamble less. That's your first step, is gamble less. Keep gambling, but gamble less. If you have a problem with crack, just smoke less crack. That's all I got to say on that.
We'll leave it there.